Okay, so I'm really excited about this reading. I asked specifically what is needed, what's supportive for dreamers specifically to world build in the next 3 months. So from solstice, summer solstice to autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere, as we're navigating this astrology and the world stage, the personal tensions that you've all named, what is needed? And so I pulled a Celtic cross. So this is a 10 card spread. Um, and we're gonna dive into it. I'm gonna just bring the camera down to where you can see the cards and we'll go from there. I know it's an awkward angle. All right. So I'm gonna go over them one by one and kind of like illustrate the vision from there and bring us to from beginning to end. And this is like you're kind of like existential divine orientation to the next 3 months. Okay, so that's just kind of, I just wanted you to get like a visual energetically of what this is looking like. And I'll take a picture and post it as well. Okay, so I don't want your mind to get too attached to the cards. So I'm going to read them like this also so you can see me talk. Okay, so right here at the beginning of the cross, we have, and this is, I'm kind of looking at this as the, where the pearl is happening, right? Like where the tension is unfurling. So here we have the Page of Swords and the Three of Wands. I think this is like so perfect because the first card is the Page of Swords. So this is really going to be representing you in this moment. This is going to be representing your orientation, the current position, the current state of consciousness. And then what's crossing it, this is where the tension comes in, the square, the creative tension, is the Three of Wands, which is where your consciousness begins to survey the world you're building, to feel confidence in the world you're building, to have made a decision with your energy. Wands is fire. To have made a decision with your energy and to move forward as if it is already so. So this character is just, hand on the staff, supported at the left and the right, surveying the kingdom. So when we look at these two cards in tension, we have the Page of Swords here at the beginning of a journey. The Page of Swords is kind of ready for battle, but it's swords. So the battle is intellectual, the battle is ideological, the battle is mental. And so both of these have to do with mindset. The Page of Swords is at the beginning of a journey of learning a new mindset, learning a new perspective. And the Three of Wands is the tension of like, there's a world that you want to build around that perspective, but it's going to take practice. It's going to take neurological shifts and changes. It's going to take practicing that new approach, that new perspective over and over again. So Page is a student, the Page is a learner. And so it's learning swords, it's learning how to master the mind, but it doesn't arrive to mastery yet. And that's really important here because neither does the Three of Wands. The Three of Wands is at the very beginning of the suit, it's only the three. So it's reaching a point of establishment, it's reaching a point of self trust and confidence, but it's not the Ten of Wands, it's not the King of Wands, it's the three. So there's still more to learn, there's more to uncover, there's more to discover, there's more to grow. And if you as a dreamer can keep that in mind, then it allows there to be so much more space for the shifts, the changes, the adjustments that might be required. So looking at the future not as I should already be here, but I'm over here, but dissolving that illusion of separation, like using this perspective, whatever your perspective is. Let's say your perspective is the world as well, or let's say everything is unfolding as it needs to, or let's say I am capable of solving any problem that comes my way. Holding on to that perspective and using that sword to cut through the illusion of separation between you and the world you're building. The farther you perceive yourself to be from your dream world, the farther that you are. the closer you perceive yourself to be to your dream world, the closer you are. And this integrates both of these by bringing your consciousness to the present moment, bringing your consciousness to your desire. So, connecting your consciousness, the Page of Swords, learning to connect its consciousness, its awareness with the desire to build a new world, to feel confident, to feel established, to feel like you're looking over a kingdom that you created. You're looking over your domain that's full of your energy. So, this is the oyster creating the pearl, using tension to create something precious. But it really involves connecting your consciousness with your desire. If you can orient the next 3 months, like in this season, towards just how much time can you spend perceiving yourself, perceiving your reality, perceiving the world through the lens of your desire, you'll be set. That will be a really powerful position to be in because it's sovereign, it's curious, it's open to learning, it's open to things continuing to unfold, but it's also acting as if it is already so. And perhaps that's the new perspective to take on the next 3 months. So, what's underneath this is the Judgment card. I want to pin this. There we go. What's underneath this is the Judgment card. This can also be like the distant past. And it's interesting because Saturn did enter Aries at the end of March. Saturn entered Aries before Jupiter entered Cancer. So in the distant past, we have the Judgment card. In the what's underneath, what's at the root of this season, what's at the root of the shifts to occur this season is judgment. So I really like to look at this literally like a judgment call. And we see on a collective level that there are many, many judgment calls happening, many judgment calls needing to be made personally and collectively. It's also the wake up call. It's the wake up and remember who you are. Wake up and remember your humanity. Wake up and remember your divinity. This is how I'm looking at the Judgment card right now. And really looking at this as Saturn and Aries. So Saturn and Aries is like where waking up to where you've given away your power, waking up to where you've given away your authority, waking up to where you can reclaim your agency, like we talked about today in the Dream Cafe. Where is it that you can actually be committed to your convictions? That's what judgment is about. That's what being able to cast judgment on your own life is about, is having the wherewithal to be committed to your convictions so that when judgment day comes, you're in integrity and you're in alignment with yourself. So this is the kind of like underneath everything is this wake up call, this judgment call to your power, to your sovereignty, to your spiritual development, and how that contributes to the world that you want to live in. Then we have what's in the recent past. What are we coming out of? And this is a beautiful card. The Six of Swords really speaks like leaving troubled waters. We're coming out of leaving troubled waters and we're heading into a new vision. We're heading into a new world. And there's still a journey to be made, right? And this is like emphasized with that Page of Swords that we pulled initially. There's a journey. We're crossing the river, we're crossing the waters. We're going to take a refuge in the new vision where we still have to get there. But the most important thing is not looking back. The Six of Swords is not looking back, not carrying the past with you. You know, there's not a lot of room in this boat. You know, and they're carrying their swords, right? They're carrying the lessons they've learned, they're carrying the experiences they've had, they're carrying the struggles they've been through, but they're still moving forward. And they need to travel as lightly as they can. So, coming out of a time, perhaps spring, the last 3 months, where things really began to feel different, began to feel new, began to feel more possible, new perspectives emerging, new realities emerging for you, and experiencing like this, the leaving of this like big existential angst we had with Jupiter and Gemini and Saturn and Pisces into more tension, right? More creativity, more of that judgment card, that wake up call, but it's still moving forward. And so I love to see this in the past position because it's like The moving forward has already begun. The something new has already begun. We are already on our way. You're already on your way to your dream world. Sorry, you have to see Aziel bathing himself. So, what's above it all? What's in the near future? I really want to look at this as the dream, this card. This is at the top of the cross, of the Celtic cross. So, the 10 of Cups is really the ultimate dream. We have joy, we have family, we have all the cups are filled. There's a rainbow, there's a home, there's a river, there's trees, there's greenery, there's a firm foundation that this family is standing on. This is the dream of Jupiter in Cancer, right? This big dream of beauty and connection and abundance. And I mean, you really can't make this shit up, right? That this showed up in this position of like, what is above it all. So we have Saturn and Aries at the bottom, Saturn, Aries, and fall underneath it all, making this judgment call, this wake up call. But we have this vision of Jupiter in Cancer, this vision of the dream world that is inspiring us and motivating us and guiding us. Let your vision guide you. Let your desire for this, whatever your version of this feeling is, whatever your rainbow is, let that be your guide, right? This can still be happening underneath. We can still be adjusting and addressing what we're waking up to and what we're realizing and what's awakening within us while moving towards this, right? We are on our way. You are already on your way to what this is for you. And if you were in the Dream Cafe today, that's your answer to what if the world was well. We're already on our way. And on a collective level, if you're listening to this, you know, you are a dreamer, you are a world builder, and knowing that you're here to dream reality into being. And so your connection to this vision is imperative to holding that vision for the world as well, to bringing more of this wholeness and this miracle. You know, there's like a miracle aspect to Jupiter in Cancer, there's a miracle aspect to this card. But like allowing yourself to leave troubled waters, allowing yourself to leave old perspectives, old attachments to suffering, um, allowing yourself to leave what was and what felt familiar for something new really brings forth the dream world. Really allows you to connect to that vision in a way that is complete. Now, in the future as well, we have the Seven of Pentacles. Now, this is really interesting showing up in the future. So, this is kind of like we're looking at this, like what you can expect to kind of come up in general moving forward in the next 3 months. So, we have our orientation and we have our judgment call, we have our moving forward, that we're coming into the future from the past of troubled waters. We have our vision. How is this actually going to materialize? And we have the pentacles, and pentacles is the material realm. Pentacles is the physical world. And this is interesting because this figure is kind of looking down and he's kind of like, there's something, you know, a little dejected about him. You know, he's taking inventory of what he's grown, but he's also realizing that there's been a separation, there's been a kind of like tear here. So this card energetically to me really speaks to, I remember I had a deck that was connected to Ifa, and the way that they interpreted this deck and that from that perspective was that you need to watch your energy. You need to watch what you're allowing to be taken from you. You need to watch where your boundaries are wobbly. You know, and in the Dream Cafe today, we were talking about this with Saturn and Aries. Like that commitment to your conviction is also a boundary between you and other people's worldview. You and other people's like attitude about the world, their attitude, their perspective on the material realm. So this person's realizing that perhaps they've allowed someone else or something else to affect their harvest and to steal from them, like something's been taken or something is perhaps deteriorating or falling apart. So there is this energy here with this card in my experience of it that is about like, what are your boundaries in the material world? How do you protect your perspective? How do you protect your vision, right? By like taking inventory and being attentive to where you allow your energy as a dreamer and as a world builder to be siphoned, or where you allow yourself to get dejected or feel rejected or feel taken advantage of, because those are drains, those are energy drains that only you can close. Only you can tend to this harvest, only you can tend to what you're growing. And so Seven of Pentacles is like hold a boundary there. And it's the seven, it's moving towards the eight. Like just trust that it's gonna keep growing. It's gonna keep growing, it's gonna keep moving forward. But you gotta take a minute to check in and be like, okay, where I'm even thinking with Pentacles of the physical body, like where am I allowing my nervous system to be impacted? There's so much we can't control. But what is within your control? What is within your purview, your survey, your responsibility energetically? I'm looking also at the pentacles as like your physical energy, like your literal physical energy. Like, how are you taking care of that? So, this is important moving forward. This is in the near future. Like, letting yourself assess your resources and assess your capacity and being mindful of your boundaries, being mindful that you're not allowing this kind of like dejection or this, I don't know, there's also regret. It's like maybe I should have done this or I should have done that, or if I only had done this or if only I'd done that, then I'd have more pentacles right now. Like I should do this, I should do that. I'd have more pentacles. I'd have more energy, more resources, more money, more relationships. Like this is kind of like taking inventory, but in a self-deprecating way. That's what we want to watch out for with Saturn and Aries. We don't need to punish ourselves for realizing, like, oh, obviously in retrospect, XYZ could have been different. XYZ could have been this or that. I just read this quote before we got on today, which was Ram Dass saying, if you have a desire for what it should be, then you cannot see what is. And this figure is taking the time to see what is and let go of what they think it should be. There is no should. There is no should or shouldn't, especially when it comes to looking at the past. The past is already gone, it's already done. It's nothing but a memory. So letting go of obligation, letting go of regret, and like allowing this vision of, this first like period of Jupiter in Cancer to open you up to releasing regret and releasing shame, releasing like the self-punishing view, because there's more space, there's more capacity to see that, like, that's what this is. There's more space and capacity to see that things can be different. Um, Within and without of what's what am I trying to say? With what's within your control and with what's outside of your control, things can be different. But they don't, change doesn't happen through should or shouldn't. Change happens through the intentional focus of connecting to your desire and allowing that to reveal to you the next right actions to take. So moving forward into this next season with Seven of Pentacles, being honest with yourself about your energy, being honest with yourself about your resources, your boundaries, and doing it from a place of loving kindness, doing it from a place of compassion, doing it from a place of knowing that your garden is still growing, your pentacles are still growing, no matter what mistakes, quote unquote, you feel you might have made. Steph says this card is me if I just focus on earning money at any cost. Exactly. Exactly. Card is all of us, right? When it comes to capitalism. Okay, I really love this next card. I'm excited to reveal it. This is in the position of, in this next season, to be in alignment with yourself as a dreamer and a world builder. What attitude is best for you to take on? What kind of like dream self archetype can you play with in this next season? And it is the High Priestess. This is beautiful for Jupiter and Cancer. Um, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, like that's the sequence between now and equinox, right? Trust your intuition. Listen to yourself. Listen to the mystery. Listen to the power within. Listen to the part of you that sits on this throne, that sits on this seat between polarities, between inner and outer realms. This is the authority. You're looking for the authority in your life, this wake up call, like, where's your power? Where's your authority? Where's your agency? Here it is. In your intuition. We all have a high priestess within us. Oh, that's so beautiful. River says, I have a high priestess candle burning on my altar today. Yes. You are the high priestess. Every dreamer must become the high priestess of their own reality. You can consult other high priestesses. You can commune with other high priestesses. But ultimately, when it comes to the decision, this is the attitude that you have to take. You have to sit here. I love this crescent moon here as we sit under the new moon in Cancer. The pomegranates behind, speaking to abundance, speaking to the secrets of the universe. Like, there's just so much esoteric symbolism here. It's like, this is also like what I talked about in liquid tension. Like, my advice for this summer in liquid tension is all about esoteric symbolism. It's all about moving and thinking esoterically, also known as like spiritually, like taking that spiritual perspective, reclaiming that spiritual perspective, letting life speak to you in symbols and in patterns and in mystery and in revelations and in dreams, and like tracking it all on this scroll, right? Like being your own scribe too, like creating the narrative from the story that life is telling you, the story that life is reflecting to you, letting these waters flow. The high priestess does not grasp. She doesn't grasp for divination. She doesn't grasp for information. She doesn't grasp for guidance. She's just in stillness. She just trusts that everything will be revealed in time. The moon represents lunar cycles, life cycles. Everything will be revealed in time. And that she knows all that she needs to know in every moment when she needs to know it. There, the high priestess, like, is the ultimate spiritual authority. She comes before the Hierophant, before the Emperor, right? Before all the other cards. Number 2, after the Fool, the Magician, is the High Priestess. This is the foundation of building your dream world. You must become this Jupiter in Cancer figure of trusting your own spiritual guidance, trusting your intuition. Even when that intuition is to go seek spiritual guidance, right? Whatever that intuition is telling you. And allowing yourself to rely on God, to rely on faith, to rely on symbolism, to rely on magic. Really cultivating that power. So this is the attitude. Remember, in tarot, everything must be translated to the question that was asked. And the question that I asked was, how can dreamers and world builders be in alignment in this next season, the next 3 months? And this is in the position of what attitude, what kind of like dream self role can you take on? When you sit as a high priestess, everything else rearranges, right? Everything falls into place around you. It just has to. High priestess also like lets time talk, like lets things take time. So our next card is in the position of, oh my gosh, which is this? Relationships. I love this. This is kind of a drag. 4 of Swords in the position of relationships, of all kinds, just like people around you this next season. Everybody needs to take a break. I'm kind of reading this 4 of Swords as just like, let's not force relationships, connection. Let's not force or push other people or ourselves in relationships to other people right now. This summer, this season, let yourself rest, let your relationships rest. How can you, swords are also, we continue with boundaries, we continue with mindset. How can you let yourself, this is so much like a card of letting it be. I can't tell you how many times my ancestors have showed up using this card with me. Like, they really like to drag me with this one where it's like, just let it be. So this showing up in relationships, like, let other people be and let yourself be. And we still have the swords, like what communication needs to happen, what boundaries needs to happen, what are the 3 action steps, let's say, that need to take place in order for you to be able to rest and relax in relationships, in order for you to let go of control in relationships. This is what happens at the end of codependency. Right? You're just like, and now I die. Like, this is the end of codependency. I learned something about this card recently that oh wait, I wish I could remember where I learned it. But it before soldiers, I don't know which part of the world this used to take place in, but before soldiers went to battle, they would build their own coffin. And if they survived the war, they'd come back and lay in the coffin and pray to God. You see, these hands are erect in a way that they can't be if you're dead. Pray to God, thanking them, thanking God for preserving them, for returning them to their home, their family, and to ask for forgiveness for all the lives that they had taken. This was a real ritual that used to take place. So, in the next few months, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to other people in your life, what can you forgive yourself for, forgive others for? What can you let be? What can you be grateful for and appreciative for? Who have you survived battles with? What parts of you have survived battles in relationship? And how can you take a moment this season, moments this season, to appreciate that and to acknowledge that? And to like lay in the coffin of the past, right? Dead relationships, dead parts of yourself, dead timelines, and honor their composting into your future. And honor the fact that you survived. Take a moment to appreciate. Right? So letting things be and like ending patterns of codependency through also like appreciating all you've already survived and appreciating the people who are in your life. Now, moving forward into what are the hopes and dreams at this time? We have the Empress. I love the High Priestess showing up and then the Empress. So take this attitude and you will arrive at the next step, which is the Empress, resourced, capable, at ease, at peace, relaxed, taken care of, right? Sitting on the throne. The Empress rules a domain. We see Venus here too. Venus is in Taurus right now, which is really, really sweet. So the Empress is representing the hopes and dreams of this collective, this all the dreamers and world builders in this space. If this is resonating with you right now, perhaps you're longing to be in a state, the dream reality that you're longing to create is to be in a state of relaxation, to be in a state of ease, to be in a state of pleasure and enjoyment and receptivity. You can also look, Jupiter in Cancer is about expanding our receptivity to life. The Empress is very receptive to life. She's here sitting, in nature. There's water, there's grass, there's trees. And her cloak is full of pomegranates. She literally wears the fruits of her labor. And her labor is non-existent. Because she understands that results are not things that you work for or that you earn. Results emerge naturally out of a state of being. The Empress also becomes before the Emperor. The Emperor is right action. Before right action comes right being. So this summer, this next season is really a time to practice the right being. The hope and the dream of being lush and resourced and abundant comes from occupying those perspectives, occupying those sensations, occupying those states of being, regardless of what's happening externally, right? The Empress, the Emperor, the King, the Queen sitting on the throne, the sovereign being sitting on the throne doesn't freak out right? They can't freak out. You can't be somebody who freaks out if you're ruling a kingdom. You can't be someone who freaks out if you're building a dream world, right? Now, in our humanity, of course, we make space for those freakouts, but we must return to the throne. And we know that that cool, calm, relaxed state is the most productive, is the most creative. We want to feel creative, we want to feel juicy, we want to feel abundant this next season. How can you inhabit those states of being now? And this is coming after all the advice about relationships, about the attitude to take, about that Celtic cross, allowing the judgment call, allowing yourself to wake up and connect to that dream world even more. So we've been given already a lot of insight on how to be and what to do in order to reach this state. So I love that. It's really beautiful and encouraging, the sequence here. It's kind of like all the tensions are things that are passing away. You know, Six of Swords is like, yeah, things have been hard, but we're moving forward. Seven of Pentacles is like, oh yeah, something happened that we didn't like. Something feels hard right now, but we're still moving forward. Even the Four of Swords is like, we're at rest. Things that were a battle before are done. And sandwiched between the High Priestess and the Empress is like such a beautiful call to these sacred sovereign parts of us and call to the goddess. So, as the outcome, the first card was the Six of Wands. This is victory. This is success. This is like you're arriving at equinox. Like, let's say there's an equinox festival. You're arriving at that festival. You're arriving at the Ned's Dream Cafe, which will be around equinox. Um, as this figure who is sovereign, who is celebrating. The Six of Wands is about celebration. So, if you've worked with me intimately or repeatedly, you know that I'm always talking about how celebration is integration. Celebration is the oldest integration ritual there is. So at the end of this season, at the end of this cycle, this journey we've taken, we arrive at the Six of Wands. It's time to celebrate. You're victorious. You made it. Like the shifts happened. And, this mirrors what we started with, which was the Three of Wands. The three and the six. We move from this journey of being like, okay, what's possible right now? What do you want to build right now? What do we feel good about right now? What world are we creating? So the Six of Wands, that's like, yeah, I'm moving towards that with momentum, with creativity, with confidence, with victory. Now, one part of this card I want to talk about, which I think is interesting and will relate to the astrology when we get into that season later in the year, is that there's a figure here who looks a little like bitter. Like, it's not a little vague in this card, but this figure who's kind of like, I don't know if you can tell. But anyway, so this figure is said to be traditionally like there's a look of envy or like jealousy or even like competition here or just some kind of frustration, like what are you doing up sitting on your high horse? Like that kind of thing, right? Now, should you emerge victorious near equinox, meaning like should you emerge still on your path, still in alignment, still feeling connected to your desire, there may be the opportunity to practice not giving a fuck about what other people think. And this is very Saturn in Aries too. We're really looking at like other people might feel a way. Other people might be like, who do you think you are? That while the world is falling apart, you have the audacity to feel good anyway. You have the audacity to dream anyway. You have the audacity to be okay anyway. You have the audacity to take risks. What did Steph share with us earlier? Fortune favors the brave. That's what this card is. And when fortune favors the brave, the cowards feel a certain type of way. So this isn't like, I don't want the last thing I want a sovereign being like you to do is leave this reading being like, well, now I gotta watch out for my haters. No. But just keep in mind that part of why we avoid getting here, part of why we kind of stay here and we avoid getting here is because we're afraid of pissing off other people. We're afraid that other people are going to feel small and insignificant because they're not experiencing reality in the same way that you are, and that you have the audacity to claim victory and claim confidence and claim forward movement and creativity and momentum. regardless of what's going on. And so prepare yourself through the practice of all these boundaries that we've discussed already. Prepare yourself to be okay with the fact that other people are not going to be where you are and they might feel a certain type of way about that, but you are not looking at that, right? You don't want to ignore it. And that's the reason why I bring it up, because you don't want to ignore it. Because when dreamers try to ignore the fact that other people resent them for being dreamers, when world builders try to ignore the fact that other people resent them for being world builders, it when you try to deny it, be like, no, 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 then what happens is that you're also you can also become susceptible to carrying false guilt or false responsibility, because you won't acknowledge that you being who you are is the reason that they feel insecure. And so to try to make it right, you'll downplay your success, you'll downplay your power, you'll downplay your creativity and your talents and your victory. So I don't want you to downplay yourself for other people's comfort. So if other people's discomfort does come up, if the fear of other people's discomfort is a reason why you stay here, envisioning but never enacting, I want you to look at this next season as an opportunity to set yourself free from that and accept, accept in the death of codependency that you're not responsible for how other people might feel with you, about you being okay, about you looking ahead, about you having miracles and success occur. Hi, Lori. Hello, darling. That you can let that go. And, this figure on the horse is not looking back at that person. That might also be a part of you that you feel, Shahir brought this up, like scared that you might abandon. You might abandon a part of yourself. You might abandon how things were. You might abandon values, interests, principles that you used to have. And you'll resent yourself and look towards yourself with how dare you energy, right? So when we actually acknowledge that, we diffuse a lot of it. When we just name it, we diffuse a lot of it. And a second card came out as the outcome card. The sun. This is beautiful because, of course, this is summer solstice we're talking about. Oh, hold on, I have to sneeze. Do I? No. Okay. This is summer solstice we're talking about. But I also think this is beautiful because as the outcome of this entire journey, we're looking at you being the sun, you being free. I love Steph. I love that you just showed Rory, which is so lovely to see him, because this blonde haired child who's free and naked and riding this white horse, which is like represents purity and like innocence, like riding this into the future, and on a deeper level, like moving towards this brightness, moving towards this confidence and this sunshine, and on a deeper level, moving towards spiritual sovereignty. There are a lot of different cards that speak spiritual sovereignty to me, but the sun is one of them, because as an astrologer, of course, I'm looking at this as like sun in Aries, This is like young figure who's free and confident. And Aries is where Saturn falls, but it's where the sun is exalted. And so if we learn Saturn, what Saturn has to teach us in Aries about using our agency and taking our power back and being defiant, and we can move towards the spiritual sovereignty, the spiritual freedom, where our vision, which is also an ancient signification of the sun, the dream. This is what I mean. This is actually what I mean by the dream, mommy. Like a lot of people think I mean like the moon card. I mean the sun card. This is the dream baby, okay? So moving toward being a dream baby is the goal. Free to dream, free to express, free to experience the sunshine of life, the sovereignty of life, what it is to be a sovereign being, to connect to that child like innocence within you, that part of you that remembers before all the conditioning that it was not only okay to feel good, it was your birthright to feel good. It was your home base to feel good, to feel relaxed, to enjoy, to play. That's home base. That's the original dreamer. This is the original dreamer. So we could look at this whole spread as a return to the original dreamer, a return to the original state. So I hope that was helpful. I think it's this really beautiful, encouraging reading for the next 3 months, and advice that you can return to again and again. And really illustrated a beautiful journey that we're on in this next season with these transits with Saturn, Aries, Jupiter, and Cancer, and the oyster that we're working on. He literally looks like an angel. Like I cannot. Sure, you hear that all the time, but I could get over it. Um, yeah. Yeah, he's the sun card baby right now, exactly. I love that this is like reflected in real time. Thank you, Steph. So that's our journey for the next 3 months. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for staying with me as I read through these. And um, yeah, I hope it's supportive. And I look forward to hearing and seeing any ways that this might show up in your future. You always can always message me or email me or leave a comment on Substack. Yeah, so much here, Sarah, right? So much here. I'll post a picture so you can all like look at the spread in its entirety. But thank you so much. Thanks, River. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks to everyone watching this. Pleasure to be here with you in this dream world. All right. Love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day and your night. One. Thank you.